And we're recording this too. And we're recording it with the microphone and the game audio in separate audio channels so I can balance them and mix them. I learned my lesson after recording them in one sound channel. Don't do that. Don't do that at home, kids, because if the microphone is too low for the game audio or the game audio is too loud, like you're just fucked. You're just fucked. This is it. This next one's the last challenge. We beat this challenge. We beat the challenge of the gods. And we have a shiny platinum trophy for ourselves. But the next one is you have to beat it without taking damage. So you can't take even a single point of damage. I think it's called Perfection is Divine. But it's not that long. It's only a minute or two. And I'm feeling pretty confident. But we're going to save. Okay. What's the arena going to be? Perfection is Divine. Kill all your enemies without being hit. I remember this being so hard on Chains of Olympus, but I also probably just suck at video games, so we're gonna try to take out these jabronis without even getting near this guy. Aw, thank you, Hawks. Thank you, Hawks. Alright, we're gonna try to take out all these guys before we attack the whatchamacallit. What do you mean bonus failed? Whatever. Whatever, bro. Hey, there's no trophy for bonuses. Oh, I don't want to get too near this dude though. Oh fuck, I woke him up. Oh shit. Hey, okay, we're gonna try this though. Fuck, he got me. Shit. He got me. Got me. Shit. I feel like we don't have much left over, though. Maybe I just stay here? I can, like, fight the thing last. Oh, you fucking got me. Oh, that happens. Doesn't that always happen? When you're like trying to do something really challenging, the first time you do it, you do pretty well. And then like, every time after that, you kind of like suck. Oh yeah, they're gonna like go back. It's like you can kill them, but they sometimes like fake you out and like pretend they're dead. They surprise you like that. It happened to me a lot when I was going through the Resident Evil DLC. Like, I would do really well my first run, and then for like an hour, I would just... Oh! Is the bonus thing, like, don't use magic or something? I don't want to get too close. Come on, come on. So, challenge, or, Rage of the Gods might not help me. Oh, don't. No! Shit! You woke him up. Just die, please. Just die. You have mastered and proven your fighting skills. Challenge complete. When's it gonna pop? When's it gonna pop? Bleeding Thumbs? Trophy of Gaia. That's it. That's the platinum. Whew. An hour and 30 minutes to do all the challenges. That was platinum number 64. There you go, Hawks. You just joined us, and within like a week, you got to see your first platinum pop. This is the first platinum pop we've got in a minute. Resident Evil 7 DLC took a lot of time, and I was playing a bunch of other like long games. I'm playing through Black Flag. I'm playing through Star Ocean. I'm playing through Metal Gear Solid, Phantom Pain, all long games, and I kind of just wanted to get a fucking platinum. Like I haven't gotten one in a while.
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you? Learn something from this.
Maybe I should take that one out. That's actually a it's disappointment. Here, hang on. I'll add something as like a palate cleanser. Where is it? Uh, there we go.
And I'm so proud of this community.
Uh, let's do a little bit of hype, and let's do oh, I don't have the platinum. I don't have Cashmere holding the platinum one. Let's just do Cashmere hype. Okay. So what happens at this point normally in Platinum Pursuit is I talk about the game. Normally I make notes for myself, but I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really expect to get this tonight. Sometimes Challenge of the Gods and Challenge of the Titans, like sometimes the challenge modes of God of War games are pretty challenging, and you don't always get them right away. That being said, I think I'm just improving as like, you know, video game player, and like that one only took me two tries, which is weird. Like the toughest one was the translator one, but I'm looking at like not really a guide, but kind of like a, you know, like a tips and tricks. I think the toughest one for us was the translator, and this guy is like, nah, translator's no problem. You should be fine with that. But then they're like, this one's almost impossible. What was it? It said this is the toughest challenge and may give you a headache. 2 tries, I'm fucking done. Because I know how those rock titans work or those rock minotaurs work. Because until you get near them, they don't do anything. So you just stay away from them. Like if I had to fight all those guys and fight the minotaur, I kind of fucked. Or even worse, like there was like 2 minotaurs that were just like, you know. Anyway, so this is the part where we talk about the game, and I upload it to YouTube, and I put it in all, you know, the Discord and all that. Everyone's like, "Well, you got a platinum." So, God of War 2. I like this one because overall score is Titan is the highest score you can get. Anyway, so God of War 2. Let me first talk about my experience with the God of War franchise in general. So back in like I want to say I was still in high school, so it had to have been 2005. In 2000, because God of War 1 came out in 2005. God of War came out and it was making like huge splashes in like the video game community, which at that point for me was essentially just like fucking magazines. Yeah. Back in the dark times before the internet was widespread and everyone had a social media account, we used to read about games in magazines like Game Informer and Game Pro and Electronic Gaming Monthly and you know, so on and so forth. And they were all talking about God of War, and they were like, could this be the best action game ever made? And they really hyped it up. And I was like, okay, whatever. But then they were like, you know, taking inspiration from Greek mythology, and I love Greek mythology, so I'm like, I'm there, I'm for it, let's get it. And I got it, and I had a blast with it. It was so much fun. It was like a sword and sandals fighting version of Zelda mixed with Super Metroid, which I just described basically the best game ever made. But I think that's an accurate description of what God of War 1 was. And what blew my mind was it was all interconnected. There's basically no loading screens in God of War 1. And there's a few in God of War 2, but it usually for loading cutscenes and stuff like that. But in God of War 1, I want to say there's only 2 parts in the whole game where you're like teleported somewhere. That's the very beginning when you go from the Aegean Sea to Athens, and when you finally get Pandora's box, you're teleported to Hades. But like you climb out of Hades and you're like back in Athens. So like everything is kind of interconnected. I love games that do that because it makes the game seem like a real place. Like all these things are really connected and all these things are laid out in this like very logical way. Even though, you know, Athens consists of like, you know, 2 streets and like a bunch of rooftops. I love God of War 1. And what's cool about God of War 1 is when you beat it, you have access to it's essentially like a behind the scenes making of God of War 1. And this was the first God of War, so they like didn't know it was going to be a hit or anything. Like someone on the development team was like, we have to document this and throw it in as like an Easter egg. There's probably other games that have done that. I've never played another game that's done that. And so I watched the making of after I beat God of War, and like you can only see it after you beat it. So like you've probably because they talk about parts of the game that could be considered spoilers. So I beat it and I watched it, and it gave me like a new appreciation for like the game I just played. Because the game I just played was like good, but I played good games before. But I'm watching this documentary and people are talking about like the Minotaur boss fight in God of War 1. There's only 3 boss fights in God of War 1, by the way, but they're all pretty good. And they're talking about the Hydra boss fight, and they're like, you know, oh, we want to make it very clear what you're supposed to do, and we don't want to confuse the player this early in the game, and we really hope it works. We really hope it's like they're just hoping that what they're making is going to be good, you know. And it's like, yeah, it is good. It is good, Santa Monica Studio. It's very good. So it was almost kind of like my enjoyment with the game and my fun that I was having was like a validation of all the work they had put into it for all those years. Um, and it kind of like it's kind of like a connection between myself and the game developer, which doesn't, you know, doesn't happen in a lot of games. So I had a blast, and I never played another one. So like I knew God of War 2 came out, I knew God of War 3 came out, you know, all these God of Wars came out, and I just didn't play them. I just didn't. And then like 10 years later, in 2015, let me pull up the trophies, because this is a pretty good idea of like the timeline we're talking. At the time I had a PS3, and I was like, you know, let's give God of War 1 a little revisit. So I picked up the PS3 version, which is like the HD collection, and I popped it in, and I started playing God of War 1, and I was like, yeah, this game is amazing. Like it's almost like it's like, why did it take me 10 years to play this game again? So I'm having a blast. I'm going through it, and now there's like trophies, and I wasn't really that big of a trophy hunter back then. I would get it sometimes, but once you beat, and this is true of all the God of War games, once you beat the main game of God of, like, once you beat the story mode, you usually don't have that many trophies left over. If you manage to get all the collectibles, you probably only have like 1 or 2, like Challenge of the Gods and maybe some other like special thing to the game. In my case, I had I think it was I had gotten all the collectibles, I had maxed out all the weapons. I had to beat the game in less than like 5 hours, and I had to beat the Challenge of the Gods. And I was like, I don't really feel like doing that now. I'm going to go on to God of War 2. So I went on to God of War 2, and I played God of War 2 for like 10 minutes. And I'm like, not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it. And I moved on to something else. Cut to 5 years later during COVID. So like I buy games because they like speak to me, and also they're cheap. So I picked up the God of War collection for like $5 at GameStop, and I got the God of War Origins collection, which is the 2 PSP games on the PS3, for like $10. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I wanted to play something short. Like I just played like a long RPG, and I wanted to play something short. And I'm like, God of War games are pretty short. And I looked up the shortest God of War game, and they said it's Chains of Olympus, and I'm like, let's play that. So I popped in Chains of Olympus. It's a PSP game that was like up-res for the PS3 game, and I played through it, and once I was finished, all I had to do was Challenge of the Gods, and I was done, and I did it, and to this day, that is my fastest platinum trophy. I got it in less than 24 hours. I started playing it at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I got the platinum in the afternoon. The next day at some time. It was on a weekend. I didn't have to work, so I just played it into the night, woke up, and actually, like, I went to the gym. Like, I did stuff. I didn't just like wake up and start playing again. Like, I did stuff. I probably got maybe 13 hours out of it. I don't know, but I got a platinum in less than 24 hours, and I was like, damn, you know. And I didn't play anymore. It's almost like I play one game and I kind of like get my fix, and I'm good for the next couple of years. Well, let me see. Okay, God of War. Okay, it was February 2015. February 2015 is when I just got in my head that I wanted to play God of War. I didn't get the platinum though. So the first God of War platinum I ever got was Chains of Olympus, and that was in like 2020. Around the holidays of last year, I was going back and I was basically cleaning up a lot of platinums that I was close to, but just never did. So I did eco. Go away. Oh damn it! I did eco, and the only one I had for eco was the speedrun trophy. If you ever try to get the platinum for eco, you have to beat the game in less than 2 hours. Eco's a short game, but it's not that short. You basically have to skip every enemy. You basically can't fight any enemy. Maybe you can fight like one enemy pack, but like that's it. You have to like ignore parts of puzzles and just like jump down to certain places and hope you make it. You have to like be really good at the puzzles. You basically have to get through in one shot, and you can't die and restart because it resets your time, which sucks because that whole, if you ever played Eco, you know what I'm talking about. That last sequence where you're underneath the castle, you have to do that all without falling, without dying. You have to do it all in one shot because you can't save. You don't have Eco with you, you don't have Yorda with you, so you can't save. And anytime you die and like continue, it adds to your time. So you have to go through that whole underwater sequence. You have to go across the big pipe. You have to go down the little the tower, get the sword, go back, go in there, and beat the queen without dying. Because if you do, it'll just take too much time. I beat, I think I was like a 157, because the cutscene at the end of Eco doesn't save. Anyway, random tangent. So I got that. Oh, I'm sorry, I got that after God of War. Anyway, but I was going back and finishing up platinums, and Eco was one of them. And Eco always makes me think of God of War, just because they're actually fairly similar in terms of like structure. They're all just this one big interconnected area, and progress is blocked by puzzles, not necessarily items. So, yeah. So I played God of War, and what I had to do was the speedrun trophy. I think it's called Speed of Jason McDonald. Yeah, Speed of Jason McDonald. Beat the game in under 5 hours of any difficulty. So I did that, and the only thing left was I'll take the physical challenge, Challenge of the Gods. And Challenge of the Gods wasn't that hard. So I knew about Challenge of the Gods back in 2005, and I never did it because I was intimidated, because I was just a bitch back then. Yeah, I don't mind the speedrun trophies. I like speedrun trophies. I like difficulty trophies, and I like kill enemies in a certain way trophies. Um, Actually, let me finish my thought, and I'll talk about what I think makes a good trophy list and what makes a bad trophy list. Um, it's so easy for me to get sidetracked. Anyway, okay, so the point of all this was I went back and I got the platinum for God of War, the first God of War 1, 2005. And after that, I was like, hey, you know what? What about this? So I played this game for about 10 minutes, September 15th, 2020. And I was just like, whatever. So, okay, I'm sorry. It went God of War 1, it went Eco, and then it went God of War 2018. So I had heard how good this game was, and I didn't play very much, so it didn't really grab me. Like God of War is much more of a slower burn than the original classic games. But I stuck it out. I was like, let's see what this is all about. And I gotta tell you, for the longest time, I was like, this sucks. I hate the combat. It's so clunky. Like at some point, you get a tutorial where it's like, hey, if an enemy is behind you, you'll see an arrow on your back, and I'm like, that's awful. Like that's like, maybe that's why you shouldn't have a third person perspective with like this kind of combat. It just kind of like doesn't work. The enemies are too fast moving. And for a long time, I was like, this is so cheap. But I kept playing, and you kind of figure out a way to deal with it. You kind of figure out what enemies are easily stunned, what enemies are you can just pick off at a distance with a Leviathan axe. Like you start to figure out how to deal with each enemy in turn. Like some of the big guys. Some of the big guys have a lot of health, but they don't have a lot of like stun gauge. So you can stun them pretty easily and just like rip them apart. So it took me a long time, but eventually I got used to the combat in God of War 2018 and the Valkyries. The Valkyries were a joy to fight. Oh my god. I'd say the Valkyries are some of the best boss fights in gaming, because there's fucking one of them, and like God of War excels when they're only fighting one enemy. And the one enemies, the toughest enemies, are the Valkyries, and they all have a way to counter every move you have to throw. Every move they have to throw at you. Every single thing they can do to you, you can counter in some way. either you by avoiding damage and like attacking them back, or by guarding. Like every single thing they can do to you, you have a way to counter them and like punish them. And once you learn all their moves and figure out what can be countered and what can't, and when you have to dodge and when you don't, like they just kind of come apart. But like if you don't know how to counter what they do to you, they're just gonna just destroy you. So I really liked God of War 2018, mostly for the Valkyrie fights. The story was all right. I thought it was a little, I don't know. The story has never been the strength of God of War games. Like it's just been action, 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 and just adrenaline fueled rage and revenge. Um, anyway, so at this point, I've played God of War 1, God of War 2 for like 10 minutes, Chains of Olympus, and God of War 2018. And I was like, fuck it, let's go back and play the rest. And I don't know why I didn't do that. I think immediately after God of War, I started playing Resident Evil 7. I don't remember. But the point is, I didn't want to play another God of War game. The motivation for playing God of War 2 was I just felt like it. It's been a year, so it's time to play God of War game. It's just how I work. All right, that was a very long time to explain my history with the God of War franchise. Anyway, God of War 2. God of War 2, holy shit. God of War 2 might be the longest action game I've ever played. It was like, I was kind of shocked how long it was. And I say that in a good way. I was shocked how much content there was. So if you don't know, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you definitely don't know, I plan to get the God of War 2 Platinum in one weekend. And I plan to spearhead that with a 12-hour stream on Saturday. I got to 14 hours, and I still hadn't beaten the game. But in my defense, I was trying to get all the collectibles in one playthrough, and I missed one, and I started the game all over again. So take 3 hours off that. So about 11 hours, minus time to eat and use the facilities. That's I was pretty close to the end. I think I still had like 2 or 3 hours left. It was like a 14-hour game. Now, with context, I played it on hard mode, so it was taking me a lot longer than it would have if I played it on normal or something. I also died 138 times, but who's counting, right? But I had a blast with God of War 2. God of War 2, I want to say, has like 14 bosses, and all of them are awesome. I just suck at playing quickly since I like taking my time in games. I like savoring them. It depends on the game. With an action game like this, I try to push it. And what I mean by push it is like, what is the game going to let me get away with? Can I run past these enemies? Do I really have to do this puzzle? Can I just jump to this area? Like, I try to push games like that. And sometimes I can push them pretty far. God of War 2, you can't push them too far because, yeah, you can run by those enemies, but you want those red orbs. Like, you really want those red orbs. The levels in your Blades of Chaos, well, Athena's blades, it makes a world of difference. God of War 2, the first real challenge I got that wasn't just like bullshit, that you just like die instantly for no reason. Hey, Horizon's Call, how's it going? We just got a platinum, man. We just got the God of War 2 platinum. Trophy of Gaia, and we're talking about it. I'm basically just rambling at this point, but I'm kind of talking about like my history, or how it's almost like a review, I guess. How you doing, man? I'm gonna keep talking. So playing through God of War 2, I think her name was Euralian. It's Medusa's sister. She was a challenge. She probably killed me 10, 15 times, but like. That's when I started feeling it. I started feeling that like that those Valkyrie boss fights. And I started feeling that, everything she has you can counter. How can you counter? How can you keep doing damage? What magic do you have? What weapons do you have? And I'm like going through this in my head. I'm like, okay, what can I use? And then I noticed like, okay, when she's on the pillar, she can only do 2 things. She can jump off, she can beam you, or she can hit you with your tail. You jump to avoid the impact when she jumps. You do that, and I'm like going through my head, and I'm like learning the fight, and it's a joy. And because it's so unforgiving when you get hit in that boss fight, it took me a while, but after a while I got through it and I was like, whew, I felt like I fought a war with God of War 2. Challenge of Titans is hard? Nah, man. No, man. I'll tell you what the hardest part. We'll just get right to it. Okay, the hardest part of this game, and I played on hard. I played on God mode, which is essentially hard. My first playthrough. It's the hardest difficulty you can select on the first playthrough. Once you beat it, you can unlock Titan, which is essentially like very hard, but hard mode. The hardest part of this game is not a boss. It's the final hallway before the third sister, before Clotho. Oh my god. Uh, that one hallway took me longer than the entire Challenge of the Titans. I'll say that again. That one hallway at the end of the game before Clotho took me longer to beat than the entire Challenge of the Titans from start to finish. And I'll even include when I played Challenge 1 like 20 times to get all the Cyclops eyes for a trophy. That hallway pushed me. Like, I fought a war with that hallway. Like, it was like trench warfare with that hallway. It's like every time I put my head up, it just slapped me down again. And I'm playing it, and my boy Sumo Wish is there, and everyone else is there, and I kind of played on hard mode because, like, so you don't know, I'll just shout him out. So Sumo Wish is a good friend of mine that I met when I was doing Twitch. He may or may not be watching me right now. He's kind of always in the background. Him and Fast Rider are like always there. What do you mean you're playing no game? Yeah. That was a short clip. Anyway, so yeah, so Sumo Wish is all about playing games on the hardest difficulty, and he would be caught. He wouldn't be caught dead playing on easy mode. Like, if he had a heart attack and he was playing on easy mode, he'd call me to come over and move it to hard before he died. Like, that's kind of dude he is. Fucking hardcore. I love it. And so he's watching. He's like, "Yeah, let's get some God of War." And I'm like, and I get the difficulty screen. And I'm like, "Let's go hard. Let's go hard." Because I hadn't played a God of War in hard mode, and I was always on normal mode. I'm like, fuck it. Let's play it on hard mode. I got to that hallway, and I was like, "Why did I do that?" I was like, "Oh my god, why did I do this?" I really thought I couldn't do it. I really thought it was just not going to happen. I'm like, "Oh." And it wasn't because I was lacking health or magic. I had all that stuff. Like, when you start that hallway, it gives you all your health, all your magic, all your Rage of the Titans meter. Like, you get all of it. But it's like, it's just brutal. It's like so tough. Actually, in the run that actually made it through, the time I actually beat it, towards the beginning of it, I literally said, "I hate this game." And I don't. I really like the game, but that final hallway, I'm telling you, play it on hard. Get to that final hallway. If you can get through that final hallway, Challenge of the Titans is like nothing. Like fucking nothing. Like, Challenge of the Titans, the only one I kind of struggled with, and I only had to do it 4 or 5 times, maybe 5 or 6, was protecting the translator from damage. It's only because there's a lot of moving parts. Like, you have to take on the enemies and like survive against them and like manage your magic and manage your rage and all that. And you have to like protect them. You have to protect him. But like, he's in this circle, and when he's in the circle, he doesn't take any damage. But the circle will like move around the arena, so you have to like straight up stop what you're doing, pick him up, carry him to the next circle, and then go back to fighting. And like, when you're fighting, it's like too easy to kind of get like tunnel vision and like not notice that the translator is just getting like killed because he's not in the circle anymore. So like, there's a lot of things you got to keep track of. There's a lot of multitasking, and I suck at multitasking. But yeah, but that hallway, man, that hallway is just brutal. Oh, I have fucking nightmares about that hallway. Like, every time I get to a hard part of a game now, I'll be like, at least it ain't that final hallway in God of War 2, and I'll just have like Vietnam flashbacks. But God of War 2 is an awesome game. It's shocking to me how good it is for how old it is. God of War 2 came out in 2007 for the PlayStation 2. The PS3 had been out for about a year and a half. But God of War 2 started development before the PlayStation 3 came out. And they're basically using the same engine as God of War 1, so they're like, fuck it. You know, people still play the PS2. PS2 is the most successful console ever made. Something like 8,000 games were made for it. I think it sold more copies. I think the Wii sold more copies than anything, but there's not that many games for the Wii compared to like the PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 is like, you bought a console and you bought 100 games for it. Wii's like, you bought the console, you bought one game for it. Like Wii Sports, whatever. So PlayStation 2, probably the most widely played console in the history of ever. And they're like, yeah, it's probably a safe bet releasing one of the most popular games we have for the franchise on the PlayStation 2. Yeah, we'll probably be all right. But I'm kind of shocked, like, because at this point in the PS2's lifespan, everything's been figured out. All the middlewares have been made, all the assets have been made. Everyone kind of knows what they can do with it and what they can't. And it's a gorgeous game. Probably the best looking game on the PS2. It looks good for a PS3 game. Like, I know this is the HD transfer and this is like the HD uprise, but like, you know what I mean when I say you can tell when a PS2 game's been uprised or upres. Sorry. This looks like a PS4 game at points. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Some of the bloom's amazing. Some of the textures are amazing. There's a glitch here or there, but that's probably because of the transfer process. This is a wonderful game. I love this game. I think it might be my favorite God of War yet, because there's just so much content. Every boss fight is well thought out. Every boss fight is about as well thought out and deep as any boss fight from God of War 1. And they went from 3 to fucking 14 of them. Maybe it's actually like 12 because you fight the sisters again, but like their fight still works even when you fight them both at once. Like it's not impossible, and there's still additional mechanics there. It's a wonderful game. It's kind of like an all-in-one game. And it's got a great cliffhanger too that leads perfectly into God of War 3, and I won't spoil it for anyone who wants to play this game. So the game's awesome. Play it. Like it's super cheap. You could probably buy like this and 3 of other like all. You could probably buy this God of War 1 and God of War 3 for like $10 on Facebook Marketplace. Like I'm serious. You want it? I got an extra copy. I'll send it to you. Just give me a PO box and I'll send it to you. First come first serve. So someone's watching this like 5 years from now. They're like, "Yo, I want one. Can you give me that?" You're like, "Oh man, I gave it away 6 years ago. My bad." The trophy list. The trophy list is lacking. I'm gonna tell you why. So the way I look at a trophy list kind of extends the length of a game you really like. Why don't you play this on PS Now? Yeah, you can stream it on PS Now. You might be able to download it actually, because there's some games you can download. What did I say? Yeah. So a trophy list. So why do I trophy hunt at all? Like, what's the point of it? Well, one, it's satisfying to overcome a challenge, but two, if you're really enjoying a game, the trophy list is going to make you see more of the game. So when I look at a trophy list and it's like 100% complete, the game is 100%. It basically means like I have seen everything that game has to offer. I have seen everything that game can throw at me, and I can appreciate that game on a more holistic level because I've seen everything it has to throw at me. But some trophy lists don't ask for 100%, and that's okay. But for a game like this, you gotta have a trophy to beat it on the hardest difficulty. Maybe not like Titan mode, but like at least hard mode, or at least normal mode. And the reason I say that is because if you're playing on easy mode, you can just swing your fucking chains around and you're probably going to win. Because the enemies are going to die very fast. They're going to give you a ton of red orbs. The health placements are still the same on the other difficulties. So you might take some damage, but the enemy's just going to die so fast, you're not going to take that much damage because they won't be able to, you know? And you get to the next, you're going to heal up. But like the point is you can get through the game maybe without even really learning the combos and really learning like, you know, what you can do and what you should do at what times and how useful the magic is and when you should use Rage the Titans and when you shouldn't. Because the game doesn't really demand it of you. Like you don't have to do it. So if you just like, you know, just want to get through it and enjoy the story, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're trying to get a platinum trophy, you're trying to see 100% of the game, you really should learn how it works. And what I hate more than anything is a game to stop you in your tracks and be like, okay, now we're going to do some combos. Just do the combos and you can get through this room. I hate that. A much better way is to make certain combos really useful for certain enemies, and through experimentation you kind of figure that out. So you probably saw it toward the end. In the Challenge of the Titans, I would like throw enemies up in the air and just like cyclone them down, because a lot of enemies just can't fight you in the air, and a lot of enemies can't really jump that high. The bigger enemies can like reach you in the air, but the small enemies that are low to the ground, especially those ones that kind of sink into the ground, once you get once you get them up in the air, like they're your bitch. You can do whatever you want with them, and you just kind of like, you know, helicopter them to death. And you do that for like 2 or 3 of them, and you've cleared the arena enough. Now you have a bit more breathing room. Now you have a bit more whatever. And the closer they get to each other, you know, the more susceptible they are for Chronos Rage or whatever the fuck it's called. But if you're playing on easy, you're just like, square, square, triangle, square, square, triangle. Rage the gods. Okay, I'm done. It's not, you know. And this game, you can play the whole game on easy. Play the whole game on easy. Don't play on hard. You know what? Fuck it. Yeah, play through it on fucking Titan mode. You know, play through it on very hard. Um, you got to the end, it's going to be a monumental feeling of accomplishment. That being said, I don't plan to do it myself. Anyway, but like you see what I'm getting at. Like the hardest difficulty, it's possible to do. Like it's not impossible. And the hardest difficulty demands you like really know what you're doing and really know which combos work against what enemies, what items work well, what sub weapons work well. Like, and I think God of War 2 gives you enough tools to play with that there's not just one strategy to get through things. What convinced me that there should always be a difficulty trophy associated with the platinum trophy was playing through BioShock Infinite. BioShock Infinite on 1999 mode is brutal. If you don't figure out what the Vigors do and you don't figure out what weapons are best, you're just going to get your ass handed to you. Sometimes it's too difficult, but you got a good sniper, you got a good revolver, you make ample use of the charge vigor, you use Bucking Bronco in combination with Devil's Kiss, and you'll be fine. But you better learn the vigor combos and you better be quick. Anyway, so is it worth going after the platinum trophy? Fuck yeah. If you beat the game, you're probably like 70% of the way there. Like you probably missed a few collectibles. Like you probably missed I Can't Believe It. You probably missed Go Make a Pillow. You probably don't have this, but you're gonna have to grind that in the Challenge of the Titans anyway. You might not have Blowing Your Wad, but if you got the urns, you can just like play the game for like an hour with with the urns equipped, and you can just like earn it just like pretty quickly. You might have missed 15-minute fight scene if you're playing on hard. If you're playing on easy or normal, you definitely got this, and you probably missed collecting all Uber checks. So you might have to play through again. So like 2 playthroughs and Challenge the Gods, and that's it. And once you play through it one time, you know the answers to the test. Basically, you know how to fight the enemies. You know how to do the puzzles. You know about how long a boss fight should last. And you can play through it on easy again if you want, and just say fuck it. And not only that, once you beat it, you get access to a bunch of costumes. Same thing as God of War 1. So you can play through the game with like infinite magic if you wanted to, and just spam magic the entire game, and just pick up the chest at your leisure. Like, my point is, once you beat the game, you're not far away from getting the platinum. Just go for it, you know? At least do the Challenge of the Gods. Challenge of the Gods is probably the most challenging thing this game asks you to do, but it's not really that hard. I'd say beating the game on hard is way more of a challenge than Challenge of the Titans. I'd say just that one fucking hallway before Clotho is more of a challenge than Challenge of the Gods. Sorry, Challenge of the Titans. No, I just realized that I did kind of a spiel like this after I beat the game for the first time, and I haven't uploaded it to YouTube yet. Maybe we'll get 2 videos today. Who knows? Anyway, bottom line, God of War 2 is an awesome game. Play it on a harder difficulty. I don't know about Titan mode. I didn't play through on Titan mode, but play through it on hard. It's not impossible. You'll be able to get through it. Just like stick with it, learn some combos, and be all right. And don't get discouraged if you die and die and die and die and die, especially on that one hallway. And go for the platinum. It's really short. It took me probably like, I started playing on Saturday. It's now, what was it? It's now Thursday. Forgot what day it was. And I was out in the fucking field for 2 of those days. So probably 4 days, 3 days, and I have a full-time job. You can get this platinum trophy. It's not that hard.